This is All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. I wanted to preview some of the conversations we have coming up on the show next week. You know it's summer in New York City because Shakespeare in the Park is back. We'll speak with the cast of Romeo and Juliet, which is now at the Delacorte Theater. Best-selling author Ann Patchett has a new novel out titled Whistler, and she'll join us to talk about it. And we'll learn about the science behind earworms, those songs you can't get out of your head. That's coming up next week. Now let's get this hour started with The Lost Boys. Broadway's The Lost Boys has a few things to be excited about. One, it has 12 Tony nominations. Two, it was just announced the vampires and the vampire-adjacent folks would be extending its run all the way through March of 2027. And three, just today, the show's cast album became available for pre-order. The musical is an adaptation of the 1987 cult classic film about teenage angst and vampires in a beachside California town. A little bit later, we'll talk about the Tony-nominated director and scenic designer who were responsible for bringing the movie's world to the stage. But first, I'm joined by two of its stars. L.J. Benet makes his Broadway debut as Michael Emerson, the wayward teen torn between his family, a girl, and the allure of eternal life and a community, even if it's a gang of vampires. Hi, LJ.
Hi.
And speaking of vampires, the seductive rock and roll coated vamp David is played by Ali Louis Bourszgui. He's nominated for a Tony for the featured role. It is nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
All right, this is your Broadway debut.
Mm-hmm.
You told Billboard you were living with your parents.
Yeah.
You were working as a handyman.
That's right.
So what was the day like when you got the call that said, come to New York and be part of the show?
Oh, man. It was kind of a whirlwind. I flew to New York one day, did my audition, thought it went decently well. I didn't hear anything. And then the next day I did a fly test. And then the day after that is when I got the call.
What were you doing that day? Were you just out in the yard?
No, I was visiting my cousin Torrin in Soho. And he has this cool studio. He's a sound designer. And so I was visiting him and I was playing some of the music that I was writing at the time in a studio. And all of a sudden I get this text from my agent being like, hey, can we Zoom? And honestly, I thought it was a letdown call. Like, I never get a Zoom from my agent ever. So I was like, oh, no, I didn't get it. And then I got the call and they were like, you got it. You did it. And I was like, what do you mean I did it? Like,
well, meanwhile, I got to watch this last audition he did because they wanted us to do a chemistry read. So I knew the second he started that he got it. Not that like they knew, but I was just like, well, of course.
Like in your soul, you knew like this is it.
It just felt right. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. What did they do during the chemistry read?
Well, we sat there and watched LJ do his material. This was me and Maria, who plays Star. And then afterwards, we went up and read some scenes. And to be honest, I mean, I feel like I haven't talked about this yet, but like we were doing one of the scenes together, and LJ was like so great, and he was off book, and I had done the workshop last year, but I hadn't done the scene in a long time. So all of a sudden, I'm like, oh man, he's kind of showing me up. I'm like, I'm kind of terrible.
No,
right
opposite.
But anyway,
opposite.
It was a really great time, and we just immediately were like, yeah, this is definitely the guy. I mean, it was one of the most amazing auditions I've ever seen.
When you settled down, you said, oh, I got the job. What went through your mind next?
I actually walked to Times Square and I walked to the theater and I sat outside of it for a really long time. I've talked about this in a couple interviews, but my grandpa used to distribute playbills in New York at different theaters. And honestly, I just sat there kind of just thinking about him. I didn't really have a relationship with him growing up. I knew him when I was really, really young. So I spent like a good hour just sitting outside looking at the marquee on the ground and just like imagining him, like the people he talked to and handed out things. And now people were going to be handing out playbills for a show I was in. So I was just really grateful.
So Ali, what were you doing when you found out you got the role?
Well, actually, I mean, last time I was here, we were talking about We Live in Cairo, and we had just finished that show, and I was auditioning for that during that. I was auditioning for the original workshop of this last year while I was doing that. And so I was having like the last sort of get-together cast party with that cast. And my agent called me, and it was like super late at night. And so I was like, this is weird. And I got really super anxious, and I ran out into like the stairway of this hallway. And I'm like, what's going on? And he let me know pretty early on that I was going to be playing the role. And I had just spent a couple weeks trying to, I auditioned tons of times, had to do like a guitar audition, had to do a bunch of in-person auditions for the acting scenes and the singing. And I just wasn't sure because I really wanted to play a villain, but I wasn't sure other people could see me playing a villain, and I really wanted to prove that I could do that challenge, even though I've like mostly played like really like kind and sweet people.
You were in Orpheus.
Yeah, exactly. I had just done that.
Tommy and
Michael had just seen me in Hadestown, and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to think I'm just this sweet little boy. I promise I can be evil. But yeah, so I was just so excited, and then I immediately got to work on that workshop, and it was one of the most amazing things I've ever done is to be able to create something from the ground up with a group of people. Like, it was a really amazing world in which like they had something started, and what they had started was amazing, but we got to build it together, and I really got to help flesh David out into this like full-fledged character, because in the beginning he was similar to the movie where he's like there a lot, but he's sort of just a presence and doesn't have a lot to say. But I knew that in order for us to see the human behind the vampire, he had to have a bit more to say and a bit more vulnerability to show.
When you two, you get the role, you meet up, you're having conversations about the characters, what is something that Michael Arden told you, your director told you in those early days, that you still come back to?
I would say it's the listening, and it's also like he sets up that example by telling us that, but also creating a room where he does that in that way of just like we were in the workshop and then this rehearsal, and we were able to bring so much to the table, and every department was able to bring so much to the table, and he never like made anyone feel bad for coming up with ideas. He actively listened to everyone and took those ideas seriously and often implemented them. But yeah, he tells us a lot, like if you're feeling like you don't know what to do in a scene, or you're getting lost in it, or you're feeling like you have to do too much, the best thing to do is just look at your scene partner and just stop trying so hard and just listen to them and just like breathe and put your focus on the other person, and that often simplifies the story and makes it much more clear.
Yeah, I felt like I was getting lost a little bit in the rehearsals in the beginning just because the pressure and Michael Arden's direction of like, focus on the other person, and also just play the honesty. You know, like these are real people that are existing. Yes, it's spectacle and vampires and stuff, but like if you play the honesty, that's how it works. And him kind of just drilling that into my psyche like really helped me uncover a lot, especially when it came to Michael.
LJ, what was giving you pressure at the time?
Oh, first Broadway debut. Broadway debut, never been on Broadway before. Kid from LA, just coming in here, being a lead of a musical. No big deal. No, it was a lot. But it was good. I love pressure. I'm really competitive, so I thrive off of it. But I really wanted to be good. I just wanted to serve the material as best as I possibly could and just let them know that, they picked the right guy.
We're talking about the Broadway musical, The Lost Boys. I'm speaking to Ali Louis Bourszgui.
Bourszgui, yeah.
Thank you, Bourszgui. And LJ Benet. LJ, you play Michael, a teenager. He's got this younger brother. You move with your mom to this beachside town. You've left your abusive father, we come to learn. What's going on with Michael when we meet him?
Everything. My goodness. He's dealing with a lot. I feel like he's kind of hiding behind this facade of like big tough guy, but on the inside he's this like little teddy bear, and I don't think you don't see that a ton until he meets David. Michael thinks he's like alpha in any room he walks into, and then he meets this guy
Super
David,
alpha.
and then it's like, oh, this is the lion. Like he's never felt more intimidated, and like going back to the audition. Oh my gosh, I never felt more intimidated in my life than when we read together, because I was just like, yeah, I'm Michael, I'm the big guy on campus, yeah. And then you see Ali, and he's like playing this like so like tamed but like intense, but also like I feel safe at the same time, but like I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. There was a lot going on with Michael, but underneath it all, I think was this song "Belong to Someone," which I feel like is, I don't know, that's kind of like people say they have like the song of like their week or like the song of their life, and I feel like that's kind of Michael's song, where that's kind of living beneath his heart the entire time. He's putting on this facade of like tough guy, I got it all together, but he meets a girl, he meets a guy, and then all of a sudden everything unfolds.
So we get to meet David in sort of a spectacular fashion. He's a big rock star. He comes singing onto the stage. Why does that entrance fit David?
Yeah, well, there's a really interesting thing with David is where there's like the honest side of himself, and then there's this portrayal which is the rock star, and I think there is something in the fact that the first time we see him is this huge spectacle-filled rock song, and then the scene where he's like very inward and stoic directly after. And the rock star for him is sort of this character that he plays in order to dissociate from the truth that he's running from. Yeah. He doesn't know all of this, at heart, but I think it's like what he's actively trying to do. I think that the real tragedy of David is that he is like also the lost boy. Like he is working so hard this whole show to save Michael from himself and to save Star from herself. And he thinks that he can like gift them this immortality to like cure themselves of their like mortal ills. Mm-hmm. But like actually he doesn't realize that it's one of those, cycle of abuse things where he's just continuing the cycle of abuse and trying to fix other people instead of just like inwardly maybe trying to fix the thing that he's running from. And the fact that, there's this interesting thing with all vampires and like most vampire media where they're all trying to pretend that they are above humanity and that they are nothing like humans and they're better. But at the same time, all they want is to be human again. And the thing that all vampires are looking for is to find a single moment where they can experience a level of humanity again and experience what it's like to have life be beautiful, because that disappears once like ephemerality disappears, then like nothing is special anymore.
It's interesting. The music is so varied in this, because you go from rock and roll to music that sounds like I turned on the radio and I heard it in the 80s to just a beautiful ballad. How did you balance that when you were thinking about singing these songs? Because you do have to go through a range.
Yeah. I mean, I think, the Rescues really did an incredible job with this. And honestly, it was the music that made me want to be a part of this from the very start. I heard like 2 demos and I was immediately on board. But I think it's sort of this combo of like the rock thing and the time period, but also, with the vampires, there's sort of this like ancient sound too, and they have a lot of string orchestrations, and it's a lot about that sort of, again, the juxtaposition of like classic sort of like ancient harmonic choir of like, this group of people that have been part of this gang cult thing for a really long time, mixed with the excitement of the 80s. And I think that also matches the like excitement of these young people who are starting, and it happened this happened a lot in the 80s and under the Reagan administration, of people feeling like suffocated, so then just like absolutely like pushing out of their borders and just deciding to wear like crazy hair and crazy colors. And I think that's happening again of people feeling really oppressed, especially young people, and wanting to kind of break out. And so there's something about that in the music. I think a lot of the songs are about these young people wanting to like break out of their chains and find what their truth is.
Yeah. Let's listen to a couple of songs. We're going to listen to Ali singing "Have to Have You." When does this come into the show? When does this come in the show? Oh, it's
pretty early. Yeah, I mean, right out of it's the first big thing I sing, which is crazy to like have to try to warm
start
up.
The show.
I know.
To just thrash.
Just thrash.
Just scream.
Yeah. Let's listen to a little bit. This is from the Lost Boys.
Your pulse is racing, you drive me crazy. How can you blame me? You're so beautiful, baby. To have you, I have to have you, I have to have you, I have to have you. Wanna get you alone, caress your collarbone. No preacher would condone what I would do to you, baby.
Taken back to my teenage years. That song.
That's great.
How did you find David's voice?
Yeah, well, there's 2 things, right? It's the singing voice and the speaking voice. And for the singing voice, I mean, I agree. This also, hearing this song actually brought me back to my teenage years, because it's got sort of an 80s rock flair, but it also has so much like early 2000s punk to it, and I grew up listening to Green Day.
Oh, it's so
and so
Green Day.
I definitely was finding a lot in the music and a lot of the singing I do. I'm really channeling a Billy Joe Armstrong kind of sound,
I love that.
and Arctic Monkeys, and I've always been obsessed with that sort of early punk sound. So I thought there was something fun about that. And also early on, our directors told me to look up Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots, and like really, because like even like the kind of attitudes
I have
from
so
him.
many Scott Weiland stories I can share with
Really?
you.
Oh my God!
Not
I'd
for
love to
air,
hear
but
about
I'll share them later.
I'm sure.
I love
But
that.
yeah, you know, he had that great attitude of just kind of being like a little harumph about everything, and I think there's something in that in David. But in the voice, I think the first thing I wanted to figure out was how to have a little touch of Kiefer Sutherland in there, because the voice is so iconic in the movie. But then how to mix that with my own sound, and then also how a 90-something-year-old person who's trapped in the body of like a 27-year-old guy, like how do you have someone seem both young and punk, but also like is sort of this like really old ancient soul inside of that, and so that the depth and the smokiness kind of came from that.
LJ, you're a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
How does that help you in this role?
Man, kind of going back to your first question, it wraps into that too. But like, as far as how we found the sound for like so many different types of songs, it felt like me, you know. And I feel like even just being a singer-songwriter in this show, like it still feels like me. Like I listened to so many different types of music growing up. Like there was musical theater. Like whenever like the aux would come on, like for me in a car, it would be like musical theater. It would be rock. It would be like Elton John. Like it would be. There was so many different like varieties of music I was listening to. A lot of that was influenced by my parents. But I don't know. I think being a singer-songwriter, it gave me a giant respect for what the Rescues are doing. Like every line in our show is so intentional, especially because like you only have such a certain amount of time to like tell a story, and you really want to make sure you get the words out. And for me, being a singer-songwriter, sometimes you like singing cursive, so that was a little bit of a hurdle for me, was like getting the words out. But like you really just want to be intentional, and you really just want to respect what they put on the page.
Let's hear you sing. You mentioned this earlier. This is the song "Belong to Someone." Where do we hear this in the show?
Towards the end of the first act.
Let's hear it.
To be part of something real, to be half of a whole, to be truly connected, to surrender control. Oh, I need a family that's gonna stand up for me, 'cause for so long I've been lost and looking for the light. Is there someone out there waiting to be found? Come and reach out for me. I'm tired of wandering around. I've been searching for something more, something worth living for. I wanna belong to someone. Someone make me feel like them. Give me what I never had. Be the place where I belong. I wanna belong to someone. I wanna love that can slow down time.
LJ, how does David offer a sense of belonging to Michael, David the vampire?
I think for the first time, Michael feels like he's being seen. I mean, there's a lot of truths that are uncovered from David towards Michael. Not really chosen for him, but like just the idea of, there's a moment where my shirt gets lifted and there's like this giant bruise on my stomach. Spoiler alert! But it shows the audience like, oh, this kid has gone through something.
Yeah.
He's not just mean to his mom for no reason.
He's got generational trauma.
Yeah, he's got trauma that he's dealing with. And I think David sees that. And I think there's this part where, David also mentions, like, we both have fathers that have done this. Michael doesn't know what that means. But for the first time, he feels like he's being seen by someone who's also gone through the same thing. And I think, like, any person that's gone through trauma specific to what you've gone through, once they hear a story that is similar to theirs, that they feel like they can actually have that conversation finally about like what that meant to them, or like what that experience did to them, and it feels like you're on the same playing field and you can actually have a conversation that's meaningful. It's not someone just talking at you, but someone like talking with you and listening to you. And I feel like for Michael, he's never had that. And so he's looking at this person and he's like, oh, you see me. And I feel like that's what all of us want, especially if you go through like something as painful as what Michael has had to go through. You just want someone to look at you and be like, hey, I see you, I accept you, and I'm choosing you despite that.
Let's talk about the nuts and bolts. You fly in the show. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But I was watching, I was like, you have to be incredibly athletic to be in this show in some ways. I was like, you're hanging upside down for a good portion of it, Ali.
Yeah.
What kind of work did you do with your choreographer to get ready and to be ready for this role?
Yeah, there's a lot of people behind being able to do this for 8 shows a week, and I've been trying to highlight that desperately. But behind all of this, because we're really the face of this thing and a lot of the press, but like you would not believe the tapestry of people behind this.
Yeah.
And so our choreographers, Lauren and Cree, but also Fifth Wall Studio in Williamsburg,
Fifth Wall?
taught us. Shout out! They taught us how to do all this flying, and our producers were so great in terms of thinking about the fact that we should learn all the flying before we start rehearsal, so we don't have to do all that at the same time. Yeah. So back in the summer when I was still doing Hadestown, on the weekends I was going and doing flying training. So we've been doing flying training I think for like 6 months.
Wow.
So we've been flying for a long time, which is super helpful for me because I knew from the beginning that I needed to look like I had been doing it longer than everyone else. I knew that I needed to look the coolest in it. But actually they taught me, both our choreographers and Fifth Wall taught me that that in order to look cool and like you've been doing it for a long time, you just do less. That's like the trick to most aerial stuff. Because I guess I also did aerial stuff in Tommy too. Like it's just that's my foray.
He's just the guy.
But does aerial.
But the more you just kind of like relax into it, the better. But I worked with a physical therapist for like 4 months before this, and a personal trainer, and I just had to really take it very seriously. I knew that I wanted to be able to do this without having to like call out frequently or like be worried about my body. So I just kind of trained for this like I was going to be doing a Marvel movie or something, because we basically are with all the wire work and stuff. So it was just taking the physical part of it seriously. But I personally love when a show or a project forces you to take care of your body. It's pretty cool to like have something. I mean, I guess I should learn how to just do that for myself at some point. It is nice when work motivates it, isn't it?
I remember when I told my family that we were going to be flying, and my mom's a figure skater, my sister's a figure skater, and so like a lot of the dancing and figure skating world, especially what you do off ice, is very similar as far as like taking care of your core. So like my sister set up like a routine for me that I rarely ever did at home, to be completely honest with you. But she was like, "Are you doing it? Like if you don't do this, like your body's going to completely collapse. Like you need to be doing them like certain stretches, workouts, all of it." It was crazy. She was really into it.
I have one last question for you. When I went to see the show, there was a mechanical goof up.
Which one?
It's Wednesday matinee.
Okay.
And you didn't come out of the ground like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, yeah, that one, yeah. Yes.
What happens when that happens? Do you just like soldier on? What's going on? Is it craziness backstage? What's going on?
It's Dave Folt trying to figure out what's going on. Shout out,
great. It's great when you're the actor on stage, because then all of a sudden you have this moment of just being like, all right, I have to acknowledge that this is happening, but also entertain a bit. LJ's great with crowd work.
And the crowd was for you.
Shoshana just sat down and started reading.
Yeah, people
the
are different.
TV guide. People love it too. They like to be a part of something like that happening, and then they're supportive.
Yeah, I talked to Sean about it. She was like, she likes to stay in it. So like she doesn't like to break it. Yeah, you like to stay in it. I don't. I break immediately. It's
a good combo.
There was another time that it happened too, where like I didn't jump off when I was supposed to, and it was my fault, and I like apologized to the crowd. I was like, that one's on me. They appreciated it.
Out loud goes, my bad.
I was like, my bad, and then was like, this part's gonna be sick. Just wait, and they appreciate that. So I'm But
nice. Also, that's a good moment just to shout out. We have a great stage management team, and there's really so many moving parts in this show, and so if they ever need to make a call for safety, they always choose safety.
No, they really do.
Which is great.
We have cameras in places you wouldn't believe, like making sure that like we're all clipped in and like making sure that everyone's safe. Like they've really gone above and beyond in this production to like make sure that we are safe.
Well, I've got your director and your set designer out in the hall.
Oh, really?
I'm going to bring him in to talk to him.
Yeah, they're telling us to say
Yeah.
that behind
Yeah,
the door.
We're so safe. We're safe, I promise.
I have been talking to Ali Louis Bourszgui and LJ Benet, the stars of The Lost Boys. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
This is All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. Let's continue to talk about The Lost Boys, the story about family and vampires in a beachside California town. To set the mood, let's listen to a song released just today. This is called The Secret Comes Out. The Lost Boys on Broadway is nominated for 12 Tony Awards. Among them are for the folks who directed and designed a show that touches on generational trauma and flying vampires. Director Michael Arden and designer Dane Laffrey have been collaborators for a long time, more than 25 years. They were even roommates when they were teenagers in art school. They're collaborators on Maybe Happy Ending, earned them each a Tony Award for their crafts, and they are up again for Tonys this year for The Lost Boys. Michael and Dane, thank you for coming to the studio.
So good to be here.
Thank you.
So you met at Interlaken.
That's right.
As people know.
In
Michael,
Michigan, not Switzerland. Just to be clear.
Just to be clear, do you remember when you first met Dane?
I think I do. It was. I came in halfway through my junior year, and I think we met in Hemingway House, which was the dorm room for the underclassmen. Yeah. And I thought, wow, who's this really tall, serious, talented guy? And Dane was the only real design major for theater in the program.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, this dude's special.
Yeah.
Why do you think your friendship turned into a partnership, a collaboration, where you guys would work together repeatedly?
You know, for my whole career, I've only really, the two things are inextricable for me. Like I really need to have a close personal relationship with the people I'm working with and to really fully explore those collaborations. And so when Michael, who, had a sort of amazing career as an actor for, since I moved to New York, started to contemplate directing, I was like, well, A, that's a great idea, and B, I can't wait to do this with you because, our close relationship and that we had shared a kind of, that I think in a way we developed our taste together, that as we came up together, that we fed into each other, and I brought certain things and he brought certain things, and we kind of like sat in a room in the woods together for a couple of years and just kind of contemplated what theater was or the kind of things we might want to make. And so when he wanted to sort of dive into this world, I thought, well, this is going to be amazing, and I think it has been.
Why do you trust Dane with your shows?
Well, I mean, I feel like he's the smartest person I know. He always forces me to sort of dig deeper and interrogate things from more perspectives than I would normally have. He has an incredible eye for things, and his understanding of how to tell a story visually is truly unparalleled. So I feel like I would be somewhat lost without him. I mean, you go to see a play, and so I think that design and direction and conceit are kind of inextricable from each other. And so, especially at this point now, it just feels like breathing a little bit. When someone asks me, would you like to do this project? The first person I turn to is Dane. I say, what do you think about this? And we immediately start by saying, okay, well, what's it really about? And how can we convey that to an audience? So I guess I trust him because I have to. because I want to and I need to, and it has made me a better artist and continues to make me interrogate the work in a way that I wouldn't on my own. I mean, collaboration is the key.
Dane, how does Michael make you more creative?
Well, it also goes back to this idea of trust, right? That we are, we are artists in our own right. But when we build something together, we can turn to each other and go like, oh, this thing we've been thinking about, maybe this isn't it.
Be a good idea.
And, when you have 100% trust in your collaborator, that is the moment where you go like, well, I might not have seen that. I might not be feeling that, but if he's feeling it, then we have to interrogate it. So it's a kind of like wonderfully symbiotic thing in which we continually, up until the final moment when we're kicked out of the theater and have to stop working on something, that we are constantly interrogating things. And because we trust each other implicitly, I think, there's never a moment of doubt that I have. Like if he's feeling a concern about something, I'm like, oh, well, maybe I didn't see it that way. But if you are, it is a concern.
It's never really like a disagreement. It's sort of like if there is a question from the other, it usually means we haven't found the right thing. It's not like one idea wins. It's that the obstacle of something not being quite right actually becomes an opportunity to like find a better way forward together.
I just watched it in action because you were pouring water for yourself and you poured a glass for Dane and one for yourself while you were answering that question.
Well, I heard him clear his throat.
Apologies to the listeners.
No, but it's kind of interesting. Like you're that clued into one another, and that was kind of nice.
Yeah.
When did the Lost Boys come into your mind?
Well, it actually came in an email to me in 2021. I think it was a time in our world,
very
as
deep
everyone
COVID,
might remember, deep COVID, where we wondered, will we ever be in a theater again? I think we were actually working on an outdoor piece at the time, or getting ready to at the Williamstown Theater Festival, and I got an email from my agent saying these 3 producers are thinking about doing The Lost Boys, Joel Schumacher's 1987 film, on stage. Would you be interested in meeting about directing it? And they very much like your work and would like you to do it. And of course, the first thing I did was forward the email to Dane or call him and say, hey, what do you think about this? And neither of us hadn't seen the movie. I somehow, even though I was born in 82, I think I was like a little too young.
We were both a little too young
to
know the movie.
It, yeah.
So, which was good because I got to watch it with kind of like a sober eye. Watched the movie and I thought, well, this is strange. It's so varied tonally. I mean, it goes from being a horror movie to being a kind of Goonies adventure film to being a comedy to being a heartfelt family story to being a coming-of-age love story. It kind of encapsulated all of this, and we thought, oh, well, here's a really interesting proposition. If we can if we could get this to work, it could really be relatable to so many people with so many varied interests when coming into the theater. I mean, you go to the theater like you want to be entertained, but you want to go on a ride. You want to go through a multitude of emotions and feelings and things. And so it felt like if we could get it right, it would be really exciting.
Yeah.
Dane, what were your first thoughts about challenges, about opportunities that you first saw once you committed to the show?
Well, listen, in another sort of act of trust, because I hadn't seen the movie, I didn't want to right away because I think it's amazing when you can approach something genuinely with a blank slate. So I trusted that Michael watched it and I, read about it and we talked about it. And for all the reasons he just said, we felt it had a lot of potential. So I was able to kind of confront it first as a piece of theater as opposed to engaging with what it was as a film visually, which is a lot of things. And so we kind of like walked alongside it as it was being written and designed, and I eventually watched it. But what came up for us was that it did require an unusually large range of things theatrically, from something that is incredibly like intimate in the home that sort of sits at the center of the space and that they're trying to like build and defend, to like the sort of the luridness of the kind of 1980s California boardwalk, to these sort of set pieces from the movie that we knew we were going to engage with because they're so narratively important, like a a bunch of guys jumping off a bridge into a foggy gorge. That's not normally something that kind of comes across our desk in the theater. And yet,
Maybe now they will.
well, but this is exactly what's the most exciting when you're approaching a new project, is like when the problems feel genuinely impossible, when you have absolutely no idea how you would possibly do that on stage. That's very exciting for us. That's the kind of thing those are the kind of provocations that make us very, very excited about new work.
We're talking about The Lost Boys with director Michael Arden and scenic designer Dane Laffrey. We'll have more after a quick break. This is all of it. You're listening to All of It on WNYC. I'm Allison Stewart. In studio with me is the director of The Lost Boys, Michael Arden, as well as scenic designer Dane Laffrey. They're nominated for many Tony Awards. It's happening in about a week and so. But you're also is it co-director of lighting?
I'm the co-lighting designer.
Co-lighting designer.
Yeah.
And it's really, really stunning the way the lighting is working in this show. What element was the hardest to get right with the lighting? Because there's a lot of it.
I think, what's interesting about The Lost Boys and why I was so attracted to really taking a hands-on approach with the lighting, and I get to work with an incredible designer, Jen Schriever, who is miraculous designer on her own. And the fact that she let me collaborate with her was very exciting because I felt there was an opportunity in The Lost Boys to do something unique, because light and dark is a plot point for vampires. It's life or death in a way. It's in the DNA of the story. So I think one of the most difficult and interesting challenges was the darkness in ways like we were designing the light, but we were designing the dark as well, and giving the audience enough understanding of the vocabulary on stage to understand the world we were in, yet taking away parts of the scenery, of the set, of the world, so that the audience's imagination could run wild, which, an audience's imagination is more powerful and more enormous and contains more than anything we could ever do on stage.
And it's interesting that you
scenery.
say taking away, because what you're actually doing is extending it. In omitting some of the information visually, it allows the audience to picture what is beyond, and to not, when you can't kind of see because the edges of something inside a Broadway theater are much closer than you sort of want them to be, right? The architecture is always, it's small. It's always smaller than you imagine. And so the kind of genius in the lighting is that in omitting the edges and kind of vignetting it in the way they do and creating so much architecture in the air with the light, the space can feel quite infinite when you want it to, and you really can't contemplate its edges, which has been an enormous asset to us, I think, in this show, in a world that wants to feel, for the new arrivals in Santa Carla, like a little unstable and a little dangerous, and that you don't quite know what's coming around the next corner. And I think what the lighting does is so essential in conveying that sense of place.
And we wanted to really not use any hard edges.
Yeah.
Any hard edges needed to be made by obstacle to light. So soft light coming through scenery, coming through grading, creating
Railings,
shape.
yeah.
But we also were interested in making it really feel like this could have been lit in 1987.
I was interested about the Palace Theater. Was that a specific choice for this show, considering it was just renovated in 2024?
Well, we were very lucky. It's very normal in the Broadway's sphere to not know what theater a show is going into until quite late in the process, just given how the real estate works and certain things opening, closing, all that stuff.
Broadway is a bit like a parking lot, right? And Broadway shows are cars, and there are more cars than there are spaces.
Yeah, so you have to wait for a
theaters
space
for
to open.
space. Yeah, you sort of hope for the best one.
But in this particular case, we knew we were going into the Palace more than a year before we loaded in. So we were at a point in the design process. We were able to actually tailor it to that space, which was great. And the Palace is one of the most extraordinary Broadway theaters. It's big and incredible and feels like it invites shows of scale. So we were very happy to be able to provide one.
Well, also for the flying.
Well, yeah.
And
going back to the lighting, that from a practical level, the flying and its integration with lighting is one of the most difficult, and time-consuming and challenging kind of collaborations because, we want to, at the same time, while we want to see every emotion on an actor's face and all parts of their body, we don't want to know how they're in the air. We really want the audience to. We knew early on that we wanted to try to hide any wires.
Yeah.
And that is a painstaking process. I really want to shout out our incredible team of choreographers and aerial folks who came in early each morning and hung in the air while we lit them.
Well, I wanted to ask because several years ago, there's a show that starts with an S that had aerials in the show, and 6 people were hurt, and the show never got off the ground. And I had to imagine that was on your mind in some way. How do you keep your actors safe, which is your primary worry?
Well, I think training is one. I mean, we started working on the flying a long time before we ever entered the theater.
Yeah.
We first went and worked with Flying by Foy, an amazing company that's been around forever. I mean, really, the number one company who does this kind of thing.
And the first people who did it were you and me.
Yeah, exactly.
In
Dane
Las
and
Vegas.
I put on harnesses in Las Vegas and flew up. So we wanted to see how it felt and see how it looked. And then we went to Vegas with the creative team and started shaping the flights. And then we did a work session and with the actors at SUNY Purchase. We built our rig there. And then we took time to work on the flying before we even started tech. So we really wanted everyone to, one, feel comfortable, two, feel safe and be safe, and put protocols in place in case something were to go wrong. So, but it's quite safe, and I think they're having a blast doing it.
And it's not what we're doing in the Lost Boys from a theatrical aerial perspective is not especially novel. What's novel about it is the way in which we're deploying the tracks. So it feels extremely three-dimensional because the tracks are not parallel to each other. They are on opposing angles, and so you can fly in 3 different directions in a what would normally feel like quite a flat way. Does not feel flat in the Lost Boys, but that is part of. It was part of the calculus, was to, given all of the things that Michael just talked about, that we wanted to utilize tried and tested stuff and not be trying to invent a new way of flying in this show. That we just were, there were too many other things we were inventing. I think the sequence of those guys jumping off a bridge, there's a lot of invention in that. There's some stuff in there that's just never been done in a Broadway theater before, and so we knew we had to kind of invest the time and resources in things like that, and that the flying, we just needed it to be, because the flying in the show, to talk about again what it does kind of narratively, it is a moment of release. It's supposed to be beautiful.
Joy.
It's joy. It's not supposed to feel stunty. It's supposed to feel elegiac.
Yeah, it's when characters can't speak anymore, they sing. When they can't sing anymore, they dance. When they can't dance, they fly. It needed to be an elevation, and it needed to be beautiful more than anything else, to sort of have these characters connect with that childlike sense of wonder and belief in the impossible. So we knew that they needed to be able to feel joy and happiness while flying.
Right.
So it was clear to us from the beginning that they needed to be happy while they're in the air.
Yeah.
What's been interesting to you about the audiences that have come out to see The Lost Boys?
So, after our first couple of previews, which were, full of fanatics obsessed with the movie, right? And a lot of Kiefer Sutherland t-shirts and stuff like that. And the response was wild. And we thought, oh, okay, great. Well, that was our first weekend, and we had a couple of days off, and we did some work. And we thought, all right, well, we're going to get our real tough New York audience on Tuesday. And it's going to be tough. And
Tuesday night
they
came.
went nuts.
They went nuts again.
It was amazing. So, it's just been a response that I've never seen before.
And what's been incredible is that people are coming back over and over and over again because they want to see it again. They want to look at it from a different angle. They want to connect with a different character. I mean, people are coming 20 times. It's pretty cool.
It's The Lost Boys. I've been talking with Dane Laffrey and Michael Arden. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's our pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
I'll come back again.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Good.
Be one of us.